And so now I have to also kick them out of their home?
In the United States right now, there are 76 million baby boomers. The number one dilemma for these baby boomers? Housing. That dilemma can be your opportunity. Welcome to the Assisted Living Network podcast, where you can discover how just one residential assisted living home could secure your financial future forever.
Hey, it's Isabel from the Assisted Living Network, and I don't like making people jobless and homeless, and that's why I don't allow live-in caregivers in my residential assisted living care home. When you're looking to hire caregivers for your care home, you are going to have a choice if you want shift work for your caregivers or if you want to have live-in caregivers. I'm always going to recommend that you find out what is common in the area. If everyone in your assisted living community has live-in caregivers in their residential assisted living home, then you may want to consider it. But for me, I really don't like it because I don't want to have a live-in caregiver who maybe isn't working out. And then what do I have to do? Not only fire them and make them jobless, but they can't be living at the care home if they're no longer working for me. And so now I have to also kick them out of their home. Well, that's going to take some time for them to find another place to live or whatever the case is. And so it just gets really sticky really quick. There are some pros to having a live-in caregiver. Someone is always there. They're never going to be late to work. And if there's a basement or an area that has a built-out kitchen, bedroom, bathroom situation, hey, you're probably not going to be using it for a senior, so it could make a lot of sense to have someone living there, right? Possibly, this could be a good use of space. And I know that there's a lot of caregiver teams where it's a husband and a wife and they both do caregiving. And so if they're both going to be in the home a lot, it could make sense for them to live there. I've seen it happen and it works for some communities. It's not my preferred option, but again, I'll always say this is your business. You are setting this business up to be exactly how you want it to be. And if you want to have live-in caregivers and everyone in the community has it and you have a perfect space for it, then that could be a great fit. This could also be a great option for a caregiver who's going through a tough time. Maybe you have a caregiver who recently got a divorce or whose roommate moved out and now they're in between and finding somewhere to live, but they don't have somewhere right now. And if you have that additional space, they could come and stay with you for a specific amount of time, not an indefinite amount of time. Now, when we talk about cons, I want to mention this. If they don't live within the home, it's a lot easier to let someone go if they're no longer a fit for the staffing needs that you have. But if they live there, it can be tough because you may also get into some legal issues really quick. In some states, squatters have rights and they may not want to leave. And so you could get into some really sticky, icky mess quickly. I also want to say this. What happens if someone calls out overnight and your administrator is hustling around to try to find someone to fill the shift and they can't find anyone? And well, that live-in caregiver is there. Can't they just wake up and do it? Well, now you could be going into overtime really, really quickly. Not to mention, how do you compensate for their food and living expenses? If this person chooses to sue you after you fire them, it could get really sticky. And it's really hard to lay everything out perfectly because there's always changing circumstances. Someone not showing up to work, needing that overtime. What does it cost for them to live there? And I always want to make sure that you are doing things above board. At the Residential Assisted Living Academy, we highly encourage you to not only follow your state rules and regulations, but do everything better. Do everything above and beyond. I want you to consider this. If a caregiver who's living in your care home has a partner and or kids, many times that live-in caregiver will also want their partner or their kids to live there with them. This can cause a whole nother plethora of issues. What happens if there's some sort of mishap with the partner and a senior? Maybe the partner is not a caregiver, but they're living in the home and something happens. How does that work with insurance? And how does that work with the families? Are they even comfortable with that? Now, if there are kids in the home, this could be a beautiful thing on one hand. Intergenerational activities. The seniors have a lovely kid there who they get to hang out with, and the kid gets to grow up with amazing seniors who can speak into their life. But things can get really sticky quick. It really depends on the family and the situation. And everyone is amazing in the beginning until they're not. So I always want you to be careful. Now, I also want you to consider this, and it could be a big con. If the caregiver is living in an extra bedroom, that could be extra income for you. Meaning, if you're allowed to have 10 residents in the home and you have 10 bedrooms, but you have a caregiver living in one of them, well, now I have one of my bedrooms as a shared bedroom. I still have 10 residents. I'm getting less income in that shared bedroom for those 2 residents who are living there versus if they were both in their own private bedrooms. And I'm losing money on that additional bedroom because a caregiver is living there. So we always want to make sure that we're utilizing the space. If it's an extra bedroom that could be giving us more resident fees, aka extra income, we want to use it for that. You do not want to be wasting resources. Now, at the end of the day, you need to find out what others are doing in your area, because when it comes to shift work, there are typically shifts of 8, 10, or 12-hour shifts. But if everyone in your area is doing 12-hour shifts, you want to do 12-hour shifts too, because the caregivers are typically working 3 or 4 days for you and 3 or 4 days for the other guy down the road. And if you have 8-hour shifts and they have 12-hour shifts, they're probably not going to be able to pick up shifts that equate to the right timing at both of your homes. But if you're all working on 12-hour shift schedules, they can easily make their shifts work with both of your businesses. Remember, this is your business and you can do whatever you want. I'm just giving you the tips that we've learned over 10 years in this business. I always want to help you make the best choices and have caregivers who appreciate you, respect you, and not have a lot of turnover within your home. The less drama, the better, right? I know that's for sure in our homes. Thanks for listening to the Assisted Living Network.